We're in Loulé in the Algarve today. This is a town that's away from the beaches and the golf courses of the Algarve, which is what a lot of people come to the Algarve for. Nothing wrong with that, but we opted for something a little bit different today. So we're in Loulé, and we came to this famous Pasteleria Calcina. They've been making pastry and coffee here since 1929, so you know that they know what they're doing. And we came here and got a pastry called a folhado. It's a puff pastry filled with egg cream that originated here in Loulé. It's called folhado de Loule. And unlike a lot of pastries that you get in Portugal, this one wasn't invented in a convent. This came about from a competition in the 20th century between two girls here in Loulé about who made the best pastry. Not sure who won that contest, but we benefit from it because now it's the famous pastry of Loulé. And I asked the lady who served us, about this, and she said, well, it's like a French puff pastry, only better. So it's a pretty high bar to clear, but as you can see, I've already started in on this. And you know what? It's really, really good. I gotta say, outstanding puff pastry. And the rich egg cream on the inside, really nice. I got an abatonado to go with it. That's like an Americano. If you haven't been watching our videos, that's what I get a lot of times here in Portugal. The other thing that this place is famous for is this poet. His name is, or was, Antonio Alexio. And I guess he used to hang out here because they got a statue of him out front, sitting at a table. So, and when they serve you your pastry, they give you this little piece of paper with a picture of Antonio and one of his poems. And this poem, I did the quick Google Translate on it. It's kind of an anti-war poem, chastising what I think are politicians maybe for sending kids into war, and how the people who suffer in war are not the people who start wars. A good thought, I think, one that still resonates today. But I'm glad that they celebrate this poet. In fact, they've got a picture of him right here on the wall. So that's pretty cool. It makes me like this place even more. But I like the elegance of this cafe a lot. I like the, they've got gelato back there that's in the cylinders that are covered. So, they're doing quality gelato. And the stuff in the case just looked fantastic. So I just got my pastry here, and I got a little bit of their slow fermented bread, because the woman that we talked to behind the counter, she said this was especially good. So I said, well, let's try it. And sesame seeds on top. That is outstanding sourdough bread. So top-notch way to start our little exploration of Loulé today. We'll see what else we can find as we wander through town. This is the Loule Castle in Loulé, and on our way walking here, right across the street, there's the Hermitage of the Conception, and the doors were open. There was just a lady cleaning the front steps. I guess she's the conservator there. So we walked in there. Really fascinating place. If it's open, you should step inside, because they have some amazing tile work in the Hermitage. It's also unique because it's a single nave church which is not something you often see here in Portugal. So it's fascinating. And the tile work, like I said, incredible tile work there. Just don't go upstairs. Even if the door is open, even though there's no sign posted, because we did, and we got scolded by the lady saying we weren't allowed up there. But anyway, it's very cool in there. And then across the street, you walk in here to the castle. Now, this place was originally built as a military fortification by the Romans. Romans were here 2,000 years ago. I've looked around a little bit, haven't seen any remnants of the Roman times. What I have seen, though, is remnants from the Moorish times. The Moors came here in the 8th century from North Africa, conquered this part of Portugal, all the way up to like Porto, even though they only held Porto for a brief period. But anyway, this was held by the Moors for several centuries until the Reconquista. And there are vestiges of the Moorish times here. Some of the original ruins and walls are here in the castle. They're also in the Hermitage. You can see them when you walk right in. There's some Moorish ruins there as well. So that's really interesting when you come here. But this tower where I'm at right now, this is not from the Moorish times. This was rebuilt, depending on who you believe, either the 13th or the 15th century. I'm more inclined to believe the 15th century. But it's really fascinating to just come in here and look around and see how small the original city of Loulé was, because inside these walls, this is pretty much where the original city was. And if you come up here, great views too. You can see all the way down to the Atlantic Ocean and get an idea for how Loulé is really built up around here over the last 500-600 years. It's fascinating, and we've pretty much got the place to ourselves. I saw one other couple. They were here for a couple of minutes and then they left. So we've got this place to ourselves, and it's cheap to get in. The lady charged us €3.24. An odd price, but $1.64 each to come in and explore this castle. Definitely worth the money and definitely worth your time when you come to Loulé. So these are the Islamic baths of Loulé. And before I get into that, let me address this. So I was going through the museum and I was walking out into the courtyard and I didn't notice that there was a glass door there. I thought it was an open door, walked right into it, smashed my face and opened up this cut on the bridge of my nose. So that's how that happened. I'll be wearing that Band-Aid for the rest of today at least, and from the looks of things, I'll probably have a little cut there and maybe black and blue on my nose. But anyway, wanted to tell you why I'm wearing this thing on my face. It's obviously not for aesthetic purposes. These Islamic baths were built during the Islamic times, obviously. And that ranged from like the 7th century to the 11th century. And they were public baths, both hot and cold rooms, a sauna and a cold room where you could get a massage. And this place was changed into, after the Reconquista, became the city dump. So, you know, they just said, you know what, we're going to toss all our garbage in here. This became a ruin. It was largely forgotten. But then in like the 15th, 16th century, it came back to life. So this is now a public museum. It's free to enter, and the museum itself is absolutely fascinating because they've done such an amazing job making it into a multimedia display. It's not just a bunch of ruins that you walk through and you say, oh, okay, that's cool. Oh, I read the plaque. Instead, they have video displays on top of the ruins that are really quite fascinating and tell you the story of what happened here all the way up through the present day. So you've got that, you can wander through there, and of course you have pieces that were from those times as well. It's a fascinating little place, and it's definitely worthy of your time when you come to Loulé. This is Casual. This is a vegan restaurant right here in Loulé. It's a quick walk from our last spot. Loulé's really compact and walkable. We haven't had to take a Uber or a rideshare or a city bus anywhere while we were here. It's really convenient, so that's really nice. This is supposed to be a really good vegan restaurant. Let me tell you what I got. I got something called tofu skewers. So this is grilled tofu. It's got a green pepper, red onion, and a tomato. And it looks like she just put them on the grill. Fire roasted, I guess. Really good. That tofu, she must have marinated it. Maybe in some soy, but there's a little sweetness to it as well. That's really nice. It's got a little salad here with some sesame seeds on it. That's a nice touch. Then I got a dish called Portuguese. This is kind of a riff on a pork dish in tomato sauce. It has olives in here too. So these are soy nuggets. Delicious. So really hearty, rich tomato flavor. I got to imagine she used a lot of tomato paste in there because it's really strong umami in there. And she's also got some roasted potatoes here. Those are perfect. Crispy on the outside, light and fluffy on the inside. Really nice. Oh boy, she did a perfect job on that. This dish is really, really good. I'll tell you, sometimes you go to vegan restaurants and they skimp on the flavor. They're like, salt is our enemy. Any kind of flavoring is our enemy. We just want to serve up raw vegetables, basically, or raw tofu. There's a place for that in the world, and if that's your jam, go for it, man. But I'm glad to see that she is really going in on the flavor, and really rich and hearty and delicious. And I applaud this place. Well done. I hope they do well here. I also got some water and a kombucha. This is called Living Food. Comes in a bottle. I don't know if it's local or not, but this is beetroot and ginger. Going totally crunchy today, but it's delicious. Very tart, but also refreshing. Delicious lunch. I'm really glad we stopped by here today. We're at the Mercado de Loule, and we got here just before closing time, so we're here just in time. This is a really nice market. It's been here for over 100 years, and what I like about it is, well, first of all, the design. It's very classic. It's open on both sides, and there's kind of a nod to the Islamic heritage of Loule because it's got the curved portals coming in on all the entranceways. So that's kind of interesting. And then you've got this large open space. It's almost like an arcade or an airport hangar, really, but it's cooler than that. I would say this, this place really focuses a lot on the local artisanal products of the Algarve. Not so much with the produce, although there is produce here, fruit and veg, there is some seafood here, but a lot of it focuses in on the local products. So you see a lot of figs, you see a lot of olive oil, cookies, the salt from the area, spices and flavored oils and things like that. So a lot of products like that rather than fruit and veg, and that's fine. So let me tell you where we stopped. There's a fly here. Wants my ice cream. We stopped at this little ice cream place called 8100, and it's legit because I saw they have a Carpigiani machine. It's one of the first things I look for. If they're making it with Carpigiani, I know they at least know something. And we tried their ice cream, and it's very, very good. Those of you who know me know that I'm a bit of an ice cream snob. but the lady who was behind the counter was just really, really sweet. And she had us try some flavors, and she said, well, you got to try the Greek yogurt ice cream. Frankly, I was a little bit skeptical about it, but we tried it, and I got to tell you, it is really, really good. Super creamy, but it's got like that fermented flavor that you get from Greek yogurt. So that's really nice, and we paired it with the rum raisin. Now, that rum raisin's really, really nice. When I used to make gelato, I would infuse the Thompson raisins with rum. In other words, I'd soak them in rum overnight. They'd plump up with the raisins would plump up with rum. That's the way I chose to make it. I don't think that's how they do it here. Seems like more they've infused the cream with rum. It's a different take. I prefer my way, frankly, but it's fine. It's good. It's very good. So that's the ice cream. There was also a store we walked into, and we got a bunch of artisanal products. I'll show you what they are. We got the olive oil. This is made with green olives. I like the fruity olive oil. The gentleman said this was a fruity flavor, extra virgin. So we got just a little. I don't want to get a big tin of this to be carrying around, but that's what we got. Then we got a little bit of the aguardente, the local firewater. This is what's made from the products that are left over from the winemaking process. So the stems, the seeds, the grape skins, all of that is distilled into this clear liquid called aguardente. And down here in the Algarve, they do it with leche fruit. Now, I'm not certain if they're distilling the leche fruit or they're infusing the flavor of the leche fruit into the aguardente. I'm not sure which it is. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on that. But I wanted to get a little bottle of that so we could try that. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. We'll figure something out. And then the fig cookies. I love these fig cookies. One of my favorite things. See, what they do is they mash 4 or 5 of these figs into kind of a star shape, and then they dot the outside with blanched almonds, which are also a local product. Isn't that just gorgeous? Our friend shop in Setúbal, where we live, which is now closed, sadly, he used to carry these around Christmas time. I would buy them by the dozen. I love these cookies, and I was so happy to see them here. They have a bunch of these made a bunch of different ways. So if you come down here, look for figs. They also do an aguardente infused with fig, but they've got these delicious fig cookies for you as well. One of my favorites here. So good. Just like I remember from my friend's store. So I thought we'd finish up our visit to Loulé at the Arruados Garden. This is a Mirador, and Mirador just means viewpoint. And there goes the church bells. Right behind me there's a nice railing with a viewpoint over Loulé. And that church reminds me that we're just across a parking lot from the Igreja Matriz, which means main church. So it's a fairly decent sized church inside. They're not huge though, but Loulé is not a huge town. What's interesting about that church is they are right now in the middle of restoration of some tiles right by the altar. So you've got workers in there in masks doing work. So you go in there and you smell the fumes. You can't stay in very long. Not healthy, and you get a little bit of a headache. But it is really fascinating to see. So that's worth your time. So final thoughts on Loulé. I really like this town quite a bit, and one of the main reasons is it's more inland in the Algarve, so you don't really get that beach crowd. Now, there's nothing wrong with going and flopping on the beach and drinking your gin and tonics and going golfing in the Algarve. A lot of people, a lot of Brits do that, a lot of Americans do that, a lot of people from all over Europe come and do that, and that's fine. But sometimes you want to not do that 100% of the time. So this is a good idea to come in here because you get more of a Portuguese vibe. You don't get that down in Vila Moura. It's filled with Italian restaurants, pizza joints, bad gelato, frankly, and Irish pubs. It's not as easy to find genuine Portuguese food down there. It's more of a jet set, yachty type place. So that's fine if that's what you're into, go for it. But Loule, you get more real Portuguese food, more Portuguese vibe. Now, does that mean there's no tourists here? Not at all. There are a lot of tourists because you are in the Algarve, which is a tourist capital. So it's just not as touristy. It's not as in your face as in the beach communities of the Algarve. Got a fly here who's been buzzing us all day. The other thing that I really like about Loule is the focus on artisanal products. We just went shopping at a little shop that features local cork, and we got a few cork products there. Karen got a little cork change purse. It was darling. We got a cork trivet and a little ceramic spoon tray because I busted ours that we got when we were in Sicily, so we needed a new one. And it was all local stuff. The spoon tray was hand painted. The cork was made in Portugal, and that's something to think about here. In Loule, I'm seeing a lot of cork products for sale that are local, that are made in Portugal, but not all of them. So when you come to Portugal and you want to buy something cork and you see this cork purse for 20 euros, beware. 9 times out of 10, that's made in China. That's not Portuguese. So just be aware, ask questions, even if they say, oh yeah, it's Portuguese. If you're in a little cheap souvenir shop where the price seems too good to be true, it's probably made in China. And if that's what you want, go ahead and get it. But really, you're in Portugal. You want to get something from Portugal. So we got some really nice Portuguese items to take back home with us. This was a fun and an interesting and an exciting day. It started off with the local pastry and a little lesson about the local poet. And halfway through, cracked open my nose and wound up with this Band-Aid on my face. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I thought for a second I might need stitches. I thought when I crashed into that glass wall that it might have broken my nose. None of those things happened. It's just a lot of blood because, when you cut open your nose, there's always a lot of blood. So that was interesting. Doesn't seem like any real harm was done. And I got to say, Loule is a place to definitely come to if you're looking for a little day trip away from the sun and the sand of the Algarve. So maybe put that on your list if you're planning on coming here in Portugal.